Hey everyone, welcome back to Luis's Stories. Tonight we're diving into one of the creepiest late-night tales I've ever read. Imagine working the night shift at a taco joint when a mysterious figure just shows up at the drive-thru and refuses to leave. From strange smells and unexplained sounds to someone actually vanishing, this story has it all. Are we dealing with ghosts or something way more sinister? Stick around to find out what happens. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're into thrilling stories like this one. Let's get into it. The night shift at a second-rate fast food taco joint is where time goes to die. Minutes take hours and hours take years. There are only so many times a person can fill the sour cream and guacamole guns in one go without wanting to put them to your temple and pull the trigger. Would it kill you? Would it make a mess? Absolutely, and what a godsend that would be. It would give you something to do. Mas Tacos was in the Bentwater Corners, a small suburban strip mall with little to no foot traffic. Every store here was the generic version of something more successful. Like a copy, it never looked as good as the original. I told friends Bentwater Corners was the island of misfit toys. It surprised me we stayed in business at all. We were located between Burgers Ahoy, another also-ran chain restaurant, and the confusing Bank of Chester. I don't know if someone named the bank after a founder or a city named Chester, and it was never explained to me. In the 5 months I worked at the Taco Shack, I'd never seen a person enter or exit the bank. Hell, I'd never even seen anyone use the ATM, not even to pull out drug money. My school schedule forces me to work late nights. I'm there from 6 in the evening until around midnight or a little after, depending on how much cleaning we have to do. Often I'm in my car by 12:01. Like I said, we're never busy. After our dinner rush of about 6 to 15 people, we have nothing but time to kill. We clean and prep, and once that's done, we double and triple check our work. If we still have time, the entire shift takes turns fucking around on their phone while keeping an eye out for Mary, our manager. I didn't mind Mary. After years of being a stay-at-home mom, her divorce suddenly threw her back into the workforce. Sometimes she acted a bit harried and cracked the whip, but she was also understanding. Mary wasn't the ogre some of my fellow coworkers made her out to be. She was the boss and had to do boss things occasionally. Those actions often flew in the face of people trying to do as little as possible and still stay gainfully employed. Most nights I worked with the same crew of miscreants. They were an eclectic bunch, but we all got along. It's like soldiers in the army. You're thrown into a foxhole with whoever and end up bonding over your shared trauma. Most nights it was me, an aspiring rapper named Doug, aka Thaw Dougfather, Jenna, a social media influencer in training, and a rotating cast of new hires. This night the new guy was a pale, goth guy named Reggie. If you ask me, Reggie isn't exactly a goth-sounding name, but who am I to judge? Tonight, while we were going about our normal Dodge Mary routine, I heard Mary let loose a string of curse words from her little office that'd make a sailor blush. I took this as a cue to put my phone away and pick up a mop. As I was ringing out, a frazzled Mary came rushing up to me. Her face was panic-stricken and slightly pale. Something was wrong. Jill, my asshole ex just called. He was letting Jeremy play Superman at home. Superman? She sighed. I could tell this had been a point of contention before. The asshole ex lets him jump off the top bunk into a pile of pillows. Anyway, Jeremy landed on his arm funny, and the asshole ex thinks he may have broken it. They're off to urgent care right now. I have to meet them there. Of course, I said. Should we close up or? I can't close early. Mr. Adamyan would kill me if he found out we did. She sighed. Can I trust you to close up the shop tonight? I can give you the alarm codes and keys. Her face was pleading as intensely as her words. I saw the worried mom look in her eyes and my heart softened. Of course, go be with your kid. Oh my God, thank you. I owe you, big. It's family stuff, no worries. She gave me a quick hug and whispered, I can't trust anyone else. You're the only one here, going places, present company included. Not true, I said, smiling. You're going to be with your baby. She gave me a friendly smile. Thank you. You're a hero. She ran back to her office to gather her things. As soon as she was out of sight, Doug sidled up to me. He nodded toward Mary's office. What did live, laugh, love want with you? I grinned. She put me in charge for the night. Doug laughed. Fuck, dog. This whole place is going to go up in flames then. Shut up, I said, punching his arm. How come she picked you? She should have picked me, he said, frowning. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Doug feigned offense. Shit, if I ran this place, I'd have us going toe-to-toe with Taco Bell in 2 weeks. People be beating down the doors to get our sopa de awesomes and sombrero taco boxes. Uh-huh. And once I launched our new mascot, Mr. Taco, sheet, we're rolling in dough. Or tortillas, as it were, before adding. And Mr. Taco, that's the best name you got. Gotta keep the name simple for Americans. We're simple people. Check this, though. Mr. Taco would have a huge sombrero and those bullet things across his chest. But instead of bullets, they'd be little tacos. Pretty slick, right? The taco guy would have smaller tacos as decorations. In a world of living, breathing tacos, wouldn't those little tacos be baby tacos? Kinda fucked up, Doug. Jill's right. The name needs work, Jenna said, joining us by the nacho station. I know branding and Mr. Taco doesn't cut it. When I started my GRWM videos, I started calling them Watch a Bitch Glow Up to stand out. I gained 200 followers overnight. 'Cause you were showing off the curves, Jenna. You got it easy. Jenna laughed. Easy? You tried coming up with compelling daily content to satisfy thousands of parasocial stands. Boobs and ass can only take you so far. To that end, maybe Mr. Taco needs a lady friend? Senorita Carnitas. Oh, I like that, Jenna said. Name is better too. Doug waved us off. Man, y'all overthink things. Mr. Taco don't need a lady. He's too wild to be tamed. He's got that iconic Ronald McDonald energy for real. Kids would be taking photos and shit with him, drawing pictures. I'd probably win awards for creating him. Let's get a normie's view on this, Jenna said. Hey, Reggie, what do you think of Mr. Taco? The quiet guy just shrugged his shoulders. Doug nodded. See? He knows it's fire. Good shit, Reg. And y'all ain't even heard about Taco Land yet. It's full of kick-ass characters. Before I could further explore the origins of Taco Land, is that where Chester's located? Mary came back into the kitchen with her purse on her shoulder and keys clutched in her hands. She called everyone over inside. Look, my kid hurt himself and I have to go. Jill is in charge while I'm gone. What she says goes. If she tells me you guys made her life hell, so help me God, I will have you cleaning the grease traps for a week. Am I clear? Everyone nodded. Mary turned to me and placed her hand on my shoulder. If you need anything, don't hesitate to call or text, okay? Got ya. Thanks again. No worries, go see Jeremy. I know he needs his mom. Mary gave me a kind nod before blowing out of the shop. Seconds later, we saw her tail lights speed down the road. I turned back to my staff and saw that all of them had pulled out their phones already. I wasn't upset. We were ahead in our cleaning, and the real boss was gone. At this point in the evening, we were just running down the clock anyway. I just prayed no fires broke out in the last few hours we were open. Seemed simple enough. About 20 minutes after Mary left, the restaurant's phone started ringing. It gave us all a shock. We'd never heard the phone ring in here before. Hell, Jenna admitted she'd actually never seen a landline in person before tonight. The phone was in Mary's office. Jenna, Doug, and I made our way over there. Reggie was in his own world, and we didn't bother him. Should I answer? I asked. You're the boss, Doug said. What if it's a supplier with questions about, I don't know, stock or something? Jill's right. The name needs work, Jenna said, joining us by the nacho station. I know branding and Mr. Taco doesn't cut it. When I started my GRWM videos, I started calling them Watch a Bitch Glow Up to stand out. I gained 200 followers overnight. 'Cause you were showing off the curves, Jenna. You got it easy. Jenna laughed. Easy? You try coming up with compelling daily content to satisfy thousands of parasocial stands. Boobs and ass can only take you so far. To that end, maybe Mr. Taco needs a lady friend? Senorita Carnitas? Ooh, I like that, Jenna said. Name is better too. Doug waved us off. Man, y'all overthink things. Mr. Taco don't need a lady. He's too wild to be tamed. He's got that iconic Ronald McDonald energy for real. Kids would be taking photos and shit with him, drawing pictures. I'd probably win awards for creating him. Let's get a normie's view on this, Jenna said. Hey, Reggie, what do you think of Mr. Taco? The quiet guy just shrugged his shoulders. Doug nodded. See? He knows it's fire. Good shit, Reg. And y'all ain't even heard about Taco Land yet. It's full of kick-ass characters. Before I could further explore the origins of Taco Land, is that where Chester's located? Mary came back into the kitchen with her purse on her shoulder and keys clutched in her hands. She called everyone over and sighed. Look, my kid hurt himself, and I have to go. Jill is in charge while I'm gone. What she says goes. If she tells me you guys made her life hell, so help me God, I will have you cleaning the grease traps for a week. Am I clear? Everyone nodded. Mary turned to me and placed her hand on my shoulder. If you need anything, don't hesitate to call or text, okay? Gotcha. Thanks again. No worries, go see Jeremy. I know he needs his mom. Mary gave me a kind nod before blowing out of the shop. Seconds later, we saw her taillights speed down the road. I turned back to my staff and saw that all of them had pulled out their phones already. I wasn't upset. We were ahead in our cleaning, and the real boss was gone. At this point in the evening, we were just running down the clock anyway. I just prayed no fires broke out in the last few hours we were open. Seemed simple enough. About 20 minutes after Mary left, the restaurant's phone started ringing. It gave us all a shock. We'd never heard the phone ring in here before. Hell, Jenna admitted she'd actually never seen a landline in person before tonight. The phone was in Mary's office. Jenna, Doug, and I made our way over there. Reggie was in his own world, and we didn't bother him. Should I answer? I asked. You're the boss, Doug said. What if it's a supplier with questions about, I don't know, stock or something? No supplier is going to call a store at close to 10 o'clock at night, Jenna said. It could be Mr. Adamian, I said. What he think if he called and Mary didn't answer? Just tell him she's taking a huge shit and she'll call him back, Doug said. Guarantee he won't ask any follow-up questions. Vile, Doug, Jenna said, her face twisting in disgust. I solve problems, Jenna. Sometimes that means going a vile route. Oh shit, vile route. That's a banger, Doug said, jotting the note into his lyric book. I'm going to answer, I said. I walked into Mary's office and plucked the receiver up from the cradle. Hello? Hey, this is Paul over at Burgers Ahoy. Hi. If you want something, just come over and order. We're super slow. No thanks. I was calling to ask if you knew that you have a dude who's been standing at your drive-through speaker for like 10 minutes. What? I asked, confused. When someone pulls up to the drive-through speaker, a whole host of things happen. A timer starts, bells ring, and the staff jumps into action. But nothing ever sounded. The shop had been quiet. I told Paul as much. Well, we've been watching him for a while. He's just standing there. It's unsettling. What's going on? Who is it? Jenna asked. Paul from Burgers Ahoy. He says someone's been standing at the drive-through speaker for 10 minutes. Why the fuck would he do that? Doug asked. You want me to send you a video? Give me your number and I'll text it over. It's so weird, Paul said. Hold up. Let me have someone check our monitors, I said. I turned to Doug, but was already heading that way. A few seconds later, I heard him yell back that there wasn't anything on the screen. I told Paul, I don't know what to tell you. Everyone here sees it. He's wearing a long black trench coat and, I don't know, those old hats from like the 1930s. A derby, I think? I gave Paul my number and told him to send me the video. I got the number to Burgers Ahoy and told him I'd call him back as soon as we watched it. He told us to be safe and hung up. A few seconds later, my phone dinged. I had a new text message. Hold up, Jenna said, pulling out her phone. I am 100% taking video of all of this. Ghost things go nuts on TikTok. Doug, call Reggie in here, I said. I don't know, man. That dude gives me the squirmy squiggles and shit. Maybe he's the haunted one. Come on, he's new and shy. You remember what it was like being the new guy here? He relented and went to grab Reggie. Once we were all back in the room, I pressed play on the video. The first image was the bright, pirate-themed interior of Burgers Ahoy. Doug snorted. They need a mascot, too. Let me guess, Mr. Burger, Reggie said to our surprise. We all laughed. Score one for the new guy, Jenna said, elbowing his arm. Reggie blushed. Okay, so, like I was saying, Paul said on the video, This dude has just been standing by the speaker for 10 minutes, not moving, not ordering. Just standing and like, looking all old and shit. Another employee at Burgers Ahoy yelled, "Oh man, the taco place done have a ghost." The video was shaky and got worse as Paul zoomed in. Jenna let out an annoyed sigh. "Get some basic camera control, will you, Burger Boy?" Once the image of our drive-through came into focus, we all gasped. Sure enough, there was a man standing right next to our drive-through speaker. He looked just like Paul said, wearing a long black trench coat and a derby hat. We all jumped when the office phone started ringing again. After the initial scare, we all started laughing. Even Reggie smiled. I picked up. "Well, was I lying?" Paul asked. "No, that's pretty weird." "One of you should go check it out," he said. "Absolutely not," I said. "Not in a million years, dude." "What's he saying?" Doug asked. "He said someone should go check it out." "Oh my God," Jenna said. "My thoughts exactly." "If you go, you need to record it for my page," Jenna added. "Yo, tag me in the description. I'm you Thadafather too." "There were two Thadafathers?" I asked. "Yeah, and the fake Doug father got 0 bars." "Do you want me to go out with you?" Paul asked. "I'm curious." "When did we decide I was going out?" I said into the speaker. "You're the boss, lady," Doug said. "And you're the nicest and the least threatening," Jenna added. "I'd skip it," Reggie said. "Not worth the trouble." "Whatever, new guy. Vote's 2-1. You gotta go." "I don't get a vote?" I asked. "Come on, Jill. Can't make the Maz Tacos crew seem like a bunch of bitches," Doug said. "I'll keep an eye on Jenna. Reggie will keep an eye on Reggie. You keep an eye and, more importantly, the camera on the ghost," Doug said. "It's win-win, girl." I looked up at them and sighed. Paul heard and sighed back. "If it helps, I drew the short straw too," he said. "Managers gotta manage all situations, right? I'm just temping as manager, and nowhere does it say I have to go confront creepy weirdos standing motionless in the drive-through line. I know, but I keep circling back to what happens at the end of our shifts if this guy is still there. My guess is we both work with some people who aren't dealing from a full deck," Paul confided to me. "That said, I don't want to see any of them get hurt." Fuck, he had me there. I didn't want to see that either. "Is the guy still there? He's not showing up on our screens." "Julie, is the guy still—" "Oh, okay, yeah, he's still there. Meet me in between the restaurants and we'll walk over together. If you try anything, I have mace and I'm not above kicking a guy in the dick." Paul laughed. "Save that energy for the ghost guy." We hung up. My crew looked at me, and there was genuine excitement in their eyes. I couldn't blame him. This was easily the most engaging thing that's happened to Mas Tacos since we introduced the churro shake. "Okay," I started. "I'm meeting Paul from Burgers Ahoy, and we're going to go check on this guy. If anything happens, please call the police, and then Mary." Jenna held out her phone. "I'm entrusting Sasha to you. Please get good footage. No shaky shit like your burger boy." I took her phone. "He's not my burger boy." "Maybe you should stay away," Reggie said. "Where was this energy earlier?" I asked, throwing up my hands. "You ever dealt with anything like this before?" Reggie asked. "Have any of you?" "Oh shit. Are you the little boy from The Sixth Sense?" Jenna said. We all laughed, but it was more from nerves than the zinger. "I've had some weird shit happen to me before. It could attach itself to you." "Don't listen to the new guy," Doug said. "This could blow up online. A haunted taco shop? Shit, Mr. Taco and Taco Land might become a reality if this hits." "Just keep an eye on the monitor," I said. "I'll record that so we can combine videos later," Doug said. He put his two hands together and formed a circle. "Symbolic shit," he said with a cocksure grin. "I think you mean symbiotic," I said, standing near the side door. "Whatever English textbook. Go meet a ghost." I walked out into the crisp fall night and felt a chill wrap around my body. I rubbed my arms with my hands and thought about anything warm. As I took a few steps away from the restaurant, the smell of burnt hair stung my nostrils. I gave my outfit a quick sniff, but it wasn't me. Before I could explore further, I caught my first glimpse of Paul heading over. He was a lanky boy with swept-over brown hair. He had on an old faded hoodie that clung to his body. Paul had a baby face, but I didn't hate it. From this distance, I enjoyed the view. Paul clocked me and gave me a small, friendly wave. I waved back and walked over to him. He was cute in an aw shucks kind of way. I dug him. Maybe there was a silver lining to all this nonsense after all. Sorry if this ruins your night, he said, but it was really freaking us out. No, it's okay. How often do you get to see a ghost up close? It may not be a ghost, Paul offered. We can't see him on our cameras. Well, we don't have to get that close. Let's just confirm he's there and head back. Then what? He shrugged. Call the Ghostbusters? I laughed. I have a proton pack in my car if things get crazy. Just don't cross the streams, huh? That cemented my little growing crush. I might have to stop by Burgers Ahoy more often. In fact, I might be the only customer they have that entire day. We made our way over to the side of our building and started inching along the wall. We passed the second drive-through window and I peeked inside. Jenna, Doug, and Reggie were watching me on the security cameras. I remembered to pull up Jenna's camera and pressed record. I aimed it at Paul. Paul, do you have anything to say before we encounter the dead? Yes, Jill. Please buy me a churro shake after this. For my troubles. I laughed. If we survive, I'll give you one, free of charge. I don't think Mr. Adamian will appreciate you giving stuff away. I gave a homeless guy an unpicked up DoorDash order once, and he threatened to fire me. I stopped walking. Wait, Mr. Adamian owns Burgers Ahoy and Mas Tacos? That man sure knows how to pick 'em. We all have faults. Me? I like bad horror movies. Mr. Adamian, the man loves failing off brand fast food franchises. Maybe the Bank of Chester is funding his addiction. Where is Chester anyway? I thought it was a person, I said excitedly. Before we could continue our back and forth, an electric popping sound filled our ears, and the entire strip lost power, plunging us into darkness. Out of instinct, I leaned against the building, trying to hide. Paul joined me in hugging the wall. What the hell? He whispered. I don't know. Bang! 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 Someone beat on the glass of the drive-through window. I let out a scared yelp before I reached my hands up and snatched it back into my throat. Someone pulled open the window. It was Doug. Doug, what the hell? Jill, the power went out. I know, you scared the hell out of me. We saw the ghost. It looked just like your burger boy said it did, Jenna yelled from behind him. Burger boy? Paul said. I ignored him. Where did you see it? On the drive-through screen. He looked at us before the power went out. What? He looked pissed off, Doug unhelpfully added. Fantastic, I whispered. Is everyone okay? I'm chilling. Jenna was freaking out, but she's okay. And Reggie? Huh. Yo, Reg the Sledge, you feeling okay? Reggie didn't respond. Doug yelled again, but the result was the same. My team had lost a team member in the 10 minutes I was away from them. Mary's job is so much harder than it seems, I sighed. Where did he go? Maybe we should head back, Paul started, but the catching of the drive-through menu lights returning to life cut him off. They were the only lights that came back on. We cheated off the wall and craned our necks toward the light like moths looking for a fix. Our jaws dropped. Reggie was standing there. Reggie, what are you doing? They're back, he said, his voice trembling. I can't move. The lights went out again. Everything around us went still. The smell of burnt hair filled the surrounding air. I twisted around to see if there was something behind us, but only saw Doug and Jenna fighting for window space. I turned back to a very confused Paul. Do you smell? Brah, I'm up. Brah, I'm up. Brah, I'm up. A booming bass rained down on us. Time stood still. I felt the push from the sound wave ripple across my body. The force caused me to stumble to one knee. I clamped my hands on my ears to block out the bellowing, but it was in vain. I felt my eardrums vibrate and begin squealing. This was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. The drive-through menu lights exploded, shooting glass shards at a terrified and exposed Reggie. He raised his hands to block the glass. In the last flashes of light, I saw jagged red cuts open up on his pale white skin. With that, we were in the dark again. Through my hand-muffed ears, I heard a high-pitched jolt of sound blow out and shatter every piece of glass in a 20-foot radius. The Mas Tacos drive-through window cracked into 3 large pieces and fell to the ground. It shattered into glass rubble. With the barrier to the restaurant gone, I clearly heard Jenna's horrified screams. Doug was yelling something, but the sky's soundtrack made it impossible to hear. I shut my eyes. Mary had never warned me about this. The rumbling from the sky was so intense, I felt my bones rattle and my innards quake. I let out a scream my ancestors could hear. It too became lost to the soundscape. Seconds later, the booming call from the gods came to a rapid crescendo before dropping out completely. There wasn't even an echo. The only noise I heard was the last gasps of my throat-cracking scream. My voice finally died out, and I collapsed onto the ground. I couldn't find my breath and panic quickly set in. In a flash, I sat up and gasped for air, like a dying goldfish. When I finally captured my foe and took several huge gulps. Once I avoided death, I threw up my dinner. I remember seeing an ant near the pile and thinking, well, dude, that should set you up for the year. When I finally got my wits about me, I pushed up and got to my unsteady feet. I noticed Paul had also collapsed to the ground. He slowly stood up and shook away the cobwebs. It didn't work. His eyes looked wild and shock froze his face. His mind had cracked like a tree zapped with lightning. He was trapped under the trunk. Panic was setting in. I reached out and grabbed his hand. It was clammy and cold in my grip. We locked eyes and I started speaking, but nothing came out. My voice was shot. I coughed to clear my throat. Nothing happened at first, but when my body remembered to make saliva, it cleared up the alphabet jam in my mouth. We're alive, I croaked out as I grabbed his shoulders. I'm here, and we're alive. His eyelids lowered, and you could see his body purge the fear from his system. Beads of sweat covered his face, and he wiped his brow with the back of his free hand. Both hands were shaking. I remembered I was still holding him, but instead of letting go, I gave him a slight squeeze, reminding him he wasn't alone. I found it calming as well. A human connection. Doug's screaming finally broke through. I turned back to see him frantically pointing at the sky. I looked up and saw a kaleidoscope of bright, colorful lights shifting and swirling above us. It was mesmerizing. It reminded me of paint meeting water, darkening and swirling. No pattern to follow. Jenna was screaming as well. Without hearing her words, I knew what she wanted. I reached around me and found her phone. I hit record and aimed it up at the sky. Her screen captured the electric northern lights as they danced above us. There wasn't a single sound emanating from this craft. It just hovered in the sky and showed us the most incredible Christmas light display any of us have ever seen. This must be what you see before you die, I said out loud, but not meaning to. One can hope, Paul answered, mesmerized. I realized we were still holding hands. I glanced over at Paul and noticed blotches of red on his face. It wasn't bloody cuts like Reggie had sustained, but more like a sunburn. Oh shit, Reggie. Where was he? Reggie, I screamed. No response. I ran over to where he'd been standing, once again catching a whiff of something burning. Hair or some chemical. A horrid thought filled my brain. Is that Paul's skin burning or my own? From behind me, I heard Paul walk over. When I got to the drive-through speaker, there was no sight of Reggie, but the smell of burnt hair hung heavy in the air. I waved it away from my face and called out to him again. Reggie! He wasn't there. Where did he go? Paul asked, joining me. They must have taken him. Who's they? What the hell is going on? Yo, behind you, Doug yelled from the window. In the shadows of the drive-through landscaping, we saw three figures crouched in the darkness of the nearby bushes. The burnt hair smell wafted heavily from their direction. They didn't move an inch even after Doug outed them. Paul took a nervous step back. This shit ain't worth 12 an hour. I reached back and grabbed his arm, cementing him in place. You can't leave me here. A crinkling sound emerged from the bushes. A rhythmic clicking answered the crinkles. Two of the figures in the bushes moved slightly. The crinkling and clicking became more rapid, almost as if these two things were arguing. They went quiet again. The bushes shook and the silent third figure walked out. My eyes caught the growing intensity of the busted drive-through light bulbs re-illuminating. They were back from the dead. The shattered filament emitters provided enough light to expose what this thing really looked like. It was the Derby Man. Up close, what we assumed had been a ghost was, in truth, an actual creature. It appeared to be a man from the 1930s, but it was impossible to distinguish any specific facial features. It was an unfinished drawing. From afar, it was a person. Up close, though, that melted away. It hit the right notes, sure, but the song was off. At that moment, the idea of the uncanny valley came crashing into my frontal cortex. We fear things that look like us, but aren't us. This thing wasn't us. Not at all. Paul reached for my hand and found it. We didn't move. Hell, we hardly breathed. The Derby man took another step toward us. The closer he got, the more abnormal he looked. His face shared the same swirling watercolor paint that was saw in the sky. I remember thinking, why was he dressed like Philip Marlowe? In a flash, I wondered if the last time these things were here was during that era. His clothing would have blended in then, but now made him stand out. He came back assuming he could mimic us and discovered we'd changed. "The fuck is this?" Paul asked, his voice wavering. He tightened his grip. The thing before us chittered and crinkled as if it was responding in a tongue neither of us knew. It took a step toward Paul, and I felt his body brace to run. I squeezed his hand. A subtle reminder we were attached. "Don't make any sudden movements," I cautioned. "We don't know what they want." The Derby man stood in front of Paul. It looked him up and down. It reached into the pocket of the trench coat and pulled out a small handheld device. At first blush, we both thought it was a weapon. Then a puff of smoke burst out and settled around us. It smelled like burnt hair and freshly cooked donuts. At any other time, these two concurrent smells would repulse anyone. But at this moment, they smelled amazing. My body relaxed. The tips of my fingers and toes went numb. I had to remember to squeeze Jenna's phone tight, or else I would have dropped it. Oh my God, I still had her phone. It was still recording. I swallowed hard and tried to not let on that I was doing anything clandestine. I wasn't sure what I had captured up to this point, but I knew that Jenna's follower count was about to swell like a tick on a sleeping dog. The creature twisted its hand, and a glass lens appeared. The Derby man punched a few buttons, and a red horizontal laser shot out the front. Paul flinched but stayed put. The laser scanned him from head to toe and then winked out. The Derby man crinkled, chittered, and clicked at us. Maybe it said something profound, but I'll never know. It sounded like birds in the woods to me. Seconds later, the Derby man shook as if seizures gripped his body. It ripped off the clothes it had been wearing. Its body wasn't human. He was a Ken doll. Paul and I both took a few steps back, wondering if this thing was going to explode. Would it attack? Kidnap us like it had Reggie? Instead, the tearing of flesh filled the air. Rips opened up across the watery painted face and down his human-looking skin. Blood spurt from burst-open veins. That's when it hit me. It was shedding. The husk landed on the cement with a wet slap. Seconds later, the lump of blobby skin dissolved into nothing. We turned our attention back to the creature. The bloody pulp moved around, and a new form emerged from the ether. It looked exactly like Paul. The thing chittered again. His voice had deepened. They pressed another button, and the musky donut smell dissipated. My mind cleared, and the terror I'd been feeling rushed into the void. The two beings that had been hiding in the bushes emerged. One looked strikingly like Reggie, the other like me. My body went liquid, and I started to faint. I stumbled, but Paul caught me before I split my head open on the road. The two human puppets joined their pal in front of us. The smell of burnt hair was overwhelming. They clicked and chittered for a minute before another ear-splitting boom erupted above our heads. A flash of white light above us was so intense it made our little section of the strip mall look like noon. I shut my eyes and covered my ears again. The ringing boom ended as quickly as it had begun. I opened my eyes and beheld a new world. It looked like ours but felt changed. Uncanny Valley, I thought. I'd laid eyes on something I wasn't supposed to see, and I felt like I was waking from a long, detailed dream. The figures were gone. A naked and befuddled Reggie was in their place. He didn't look injured, save for several minor cuts on his arms and face. I noticed an intricate pattern of 7 triangles across his thigh. At a glance, I thought it was a tribal tattoo, but then I clocked they were scars. 6 were old, and the 7th was oozing blood. It clicked in that moment that Reggie had seen these guys before. He tried to tell me earlier, but I wasn't hearing what he had been saying. I ran to him and shook him. His eyes fluttered open, and he looked at me in a haze. "Are you okay?" I asked. It happened again, didn't it? Though Paul was struggling with what had happened, he had enough sense to peel off his hoodie and hand it to Reggie. "You look cold." Reggie thanked him and put it on. "I'm sorry I brought this on to you all." "What happened?" "They always come back." Jenna and Doug burst out of the door and rushed over to us. They were both jabbering, but it came at us as another wave of noise. Over it, I heard Doug rambling through all the things we just experienced and Jenna begging for her phone. I felt it in my hand. Without thinking, I handed it to her. "What the hell?" she said. "What?" I finally asked. "Nothing recorded. It shows a file but says it's corrupted." "They do that," Reggie said. "I've never been able to capture them." "Well, that sucks," Jenna said. I gave her a look, and she softened. "Sorry, Reggie, here, I grabbed you a towel." We only had hand towels. It didn't cover everything but the important bits. We helped him up off the ground and formed a little wall around him to give him some privacy. "Oh, shit," Doug said. "The fuck happened there?" He was staring at the Bank of Chester. A thick layer of raised black soot decorated the bricks. The soot formed the same pattern that was marked on Reggie's thigh. The spaces between the pattern appeared washed out, as if the sun had faded the stone. "Mr. Adamian is going to be pissed," Doug said. The fury at what Mr. Adamian might think was the last thing on my mind. Doug approached the wall to touch the soot, but a stern yelp from Jenna stopped him in his tracks. "What if it's poisonous, idiot?" "True," he said sheepishly. They helped escort Reggie back into the restaurant. Paul and I stared at each other. There was so much to say, but the words couldn't find the way out. Eventually, I found my voice. "So, it wasn't a ghost." He laughed. "Don't have to worry about making that call to Egon now. Just the men in black, I suppose." "Are you okay?" he asked. "Not really. You?" I think I'm going to close the store early." "Same," I said. "Do you want to talk about this over coffee?" I was thinking a stiff drink or 10. I laughed. "Know a place?" "Yeah, I'll text you the address," he said. "I should get back and see how my people are doing." "Burgers ahoy," I said, instantly regretting it. "Burgers ahoy," he repeated with a small smile. He gave me a little wave as he left. I walked back towards Mas Tacos and started laughing. Not because anything was funny, far from it, but because my mind and body didn't know how to respond to so much simultaneous stimuli. I was a mess, sure, and dreaded the future conversations with Mary about what had gone down tonight. But I was moving forward, and that's all I could ask of myself at the moment. There'd be a realization, tears and nightmares later, but I wasn't letting that get to me. I was in survival mode. Keep marching, work now, cry later. The smell of burnt hair filled my nostrils again. I turned back and scanned the shadows, but nothing stood out. I listened for either chittering or clicking and heard neither. In my gut, I knew they were still here, watching, waiting, taking stock of us. How had we responded? Would we fight them? Which of us would be the next Reggie? Thanks for sticking with me through this eerie night shift tale. I hope you enjoyed the chills and thrills of the story as much as I did. If you're craving more strange and spooky encounters, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update here on Luis's Stories. Who knows what other strange things are lurking just around the corner? Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.